As I was repairing my bike, she strolled past and remarked, "If I were younger, I'd ask for a ride." Hello, my name is Liam. Having recently celebrated my 20th birthday, I have taken the significant step of moving into my own house for the very first time. Indeed, to some extent, this place was a thoughtful gift from my parents for my 18th birthday. The property was in considerable disrepair, undoubtedly a fixer-upper. Over the course of 2 years, I dedicated every available moment to saving and gradually renovating it. The walls emitted gentle creak, the paint shows signs of age, and the yard resembles a scene from a jungle adventure. Yet it is undeniably mine. I take great pride in that. The residence is located at the terminus of a serene street within a quaint American suburb. You're familiar with that type. Pristine white fences, meticulously manicured lawns, and individuals strolling with their dogs as the sun sets. A community where residents are familiar with one another, exchanging friendly greetings from their porches. I was unfamiliar with anyone. I dedicated a considerable amount of time to working on the house, which resulted in me not having the opportunity to introduce myself to anyone. I did not exhibit rudeness. I have consistently found myself occupied with various commitments. I currently do not possess a vehicle. I have never had one. My bicycle serves as my vehicle. A vintage matte black mountain bike that has accompanied me on countless adventures since I was 16. I have the ability to repair nearly anything on it at this point. That is precisely what I was engaged in on that particular day. I positioned my tools in the driveway and crouched beside the rear, attempting to adjust the chain that continually slipped off. The sun blazed overhead, and beads of sweat trickled down my forehead, landing on the concrete below. I was unaware of her approach. A woman's voice remarked, "It seems you have your hands full." I glanced upward, a bit taken aback. She stood on the sidewalk in front of my house, adorned in a simple summer dress and sunglasses. Her shoulder-length wavy brown hair framed her face, and while I couldn't pinpoint her exact age, it was clear she was no longer in her 20s. She radiated a captivating glow. Graceful, serene, assured, an exquisite beauty that compels a second glance. I casually wiped my hands on my shorts and offered a polite smile. "Indeed, a persistent chain," I remarked. She let out a soft chuckle. "If I were younger, I would request a ride from you." I paused for a brief moment. Did she exhibit signs of flirting? I was uncertain. To be honest, I glanced at her once more. She wore a playful grin, the kind that suggests she was fully aware of having caught you off guard. I returned the smile. "Who says you can't inquire at this moment?" I made a joke. Her gaze rested on me for a brief moment, as though she were contemplating whether to utter another word. She let out a gentle laugh, shook her head, and continued on her way. "Relish the journey, neighbor." I paused for a moment, observing her as she vanished around the bend of the street. I was completely unaware of her identity. I had not encountered her previously. Or perhaps I had caught a glimpse in passing during a moment when I was too preoccupied to take notice. I returned to my bike, feigning concentration, yet my thoughts wandered elsewhere. Her confidence had a certain allure, and the effortless manner in which she teased me lingered in my thoughts. Her appeal extended far beyond mere physical attractiveness. Her demeanor was striking. As the evening unfolded, I found myself seated on my front porch, a chilled soda in hand, observing the sun gracefully descend beyond the rooftops. A couple leisurely walked their dog along the street. Children engaged in a game of basketball a few houses away. Standard items. Yet, I found myself repeatedly looking toward the corner, half anticipating her return. She did not. I reclined on the weathered porch swing, a smile spreading across my face. It seems that relocating here may not be as tranquil as I initially anticipated. The following days unfolded in a manner similar to those that had come before. I completed the repairs in the bathroom, installed a new light fixture in the kitchen, and continued my ongoing struggle against an unruly patch of weeds masquerading as my lawn. I did not encounter her again. Not a single time. I reassured myself that she was likely merely out for a stroll that day, simply passing through. Nevertheless, the image of her lingered in my thoughts. On a Friday morning, at approximately 9 o'clock, having just stepped out of the shower, with my hair still damp. I was startled by a gentle knock at my front door. I was not anticipating any visitors. I slipped into a t-shirt and jogged toward the door, casually wiping my hands along the way. Upon opening it, I found her there. She donned light jeans paired with a loose white blouse, cradling a small white box in her hands. With her sunglasses perched atop her head, her warm hazel eyes were on full display. For a brief moment, I experienced an unexpected wave of anxiety. "Hello," she said, offering that familiar, effortless smile. "I trust I'm not causing any disruption." "Not at all," I replied, instinctively stepping back to allow her some space. "How may I assist you today?" She extended the box. "This is a thoughtful gift to welcome you. Delicious donuts sourced from a charming bakery just a few streets away. I understand that you may not have had the opportunity to explore the neighborhood just yet." I gazed at the box, then shifted my attention to her, utterly taken by surprise. "Thank you very much. Your kindness is truly appreciated. My name is Sophie, though most people simply refer to me as Liz." I picked up the box and smiled. "My name is Liam." "Indeed, you are correct. I have been thoroughly engaged in various home projects," I observed. She let out a laugh. "I have observed you in this area with your tools on multiple occasions." That initiated the conversation. I moved aside and gestured toward the quaint kitchen just beyond the entrance. "Would you be interested in joining me for a cup of coffee? The space may still be in its early stages, but it now boasts 4 walls and functional plumbing." She let out another laugh. "Absolutely. I would be delighted to have a cup." We gathered around my small, eclectic kitchen table. I served her coffee, and together we enjoyed the donuts. The conversation flowed surprisingly effortlessly. I discovered that she resided approximately 4 houses away in the Blue House, which features a prominent oak tree in the front yard. She had been there for nearly 15 years. Her 2 children, each in their early 20s, were attending college. "I raised them alone," she said softly, taking a sip of her coffee. "Their father departed many years ago. We were in our youth when we tied the knot. Excessively youthful. When challenges arose, he simply walked away." I nodded slowly, feeling uncertain about how to respond. "I apologize. That must have been quite challenging." "It was," she remarked, yet her voice carried no trace of bitterness. Simply a serene acceptance. "However, it has fortified my resilience. I had to navigate everything independently." I certainly did. I shared my personal narrative with her. I began working at the age of 16, taking on various small jobs and summer positions to accumulate savings. I enrolled in college, but recently made the decision to drop out due to the rising costs. I dedicated myself entirely to renovating this house, piece by piece, managing to get by on a tight budget with each paycheck. To be candid, the house has its imperfections, I acknowledged, surveying my surroundings. "However, it belongs to me. I appreciate the challenge." She offered a warm smile. "Take pride in your accomplishments. Many young men in your age group may lack the patience or determination to achieve this." I shrugged, a hint of embarrassment washing over me. Yet I felt a sense of gratitude for the kind words. It struck me how effortless our conversation was. How instinctive it felt, even with the years that separated us. There was no sense of awkwardness whatsoever. After nearly an hour had passed, she rose to her feet and cast a glance at the clock. "I should take my leave before I overstay my welcome. It was a pleasure to meet you, Liam." I expressed my sincere pleasure. "I appreciate the donuts once more." She approached the door, hesitated momentarily, and glanced back over her shoulder. "I want to reiterate my sentiments from our previous conversation." I arched an eyebrow. "What can you tell me about the ride?" She let out a gentle chuckle, expressing a wish that I were a bit younger. I found myself frozen once more, a warm flush spreading across my cheeks. With a playful smile and a gentle shake of her head, she stepped outside. I shut the door behind her and rested my head against it for a moment, a foolish grin spreading across my face. A sense within me suggested that this would not be our final conversation. The subsequent days were tranquil yet strangely filled with unease. I dedicated myself to renovating the house. There was always an abundance of tasks to engage in. The bathroom door emitted a faint squeak. A detached gutter required reattachment. The light switch in the living room functioned intermittently, operating only at its own discretion. I maintained a comprehensive list of tasks I aimed to address. Each time I ventured outdoors, I couldn't help but cast my gaze down the street. I find myself uncertain about my expectations. Perhaps I held on to the hope of encountering her once more. On a Wednesday, the atmosphere was warm and breezy. A day that inspires the desire to work outdoors, basking in the warmth of the sun on your back. Since morning, I had been out there, working diligently to replace a loose board on my front steps. Beads of sweat trickled down my forehead, landing on the wooden surface as I knelt amidst a scattering of hammers and nails. The gentle, recognizable cadence of footsteps drew nearer. The sound of a woman's footsteps. I halted my swing and glanced upward. There she stood. Sophie. She donned fitted light blue jeans paired with a simple beige sweater. The sleeves casually pushed up to her elbows. A finely crafted silver necklace rested gracefully at her collarbone. Her brown hair fell loosely, gently grazing her shoulders as she strolled. "Hey, handyman," she called out with a playful grin, tucking a stray strand of hair behind her ear. "You are out once more." I rose to my feet and brushed my palms against my jeans. At this juncture, I find myself assuming the role of the unofficial maintenance person for the entire block. She chuckled gently and moved off the sidewalk, making her way to the base of my front steps. "Your efforts are commendable. The location appears to improve with each passing day I stroll by." I acknowledge the journey ahead, motioning toward the uneven porch. "I suppose I am also a work in progress." She inclined her head and offered a smile, examining my face for a moment longer than was required. "Isn't that the case for everyone?" she responded with warmth. A moment of silence ensued. It wasn't awkward, yet it carried a certain weight that I couldn't fully identify. It seemed as though we were both attempting to understand one another without expressing too much verbally. Reluctantly, she began, her voice faltering as she bit her bottom lip. "The leaky faucet in my kitchen has been a source of frustration for weeks now. I attempted to tighten it on my own, but unfortunately, it was unsuccessful." I offered a smile. "I can certainly take a look if you would like." Her eyes sparkled with excitement. "Would you genuinely consider doing that?" "Certainly. Take the initiative." I gathered my tools, wiped the dust from my hands, and accompanied her on the brief stroll to her home. The blue house, accompanied by the grand oak tree, perfectly matched her description from our very first conversation. Her home exuded the charm of a space that had witnessed countless years of life. The paint shows signs of gentle fading, while the front porch, though worn, exudes a warm and inviting charm. Vibrant flowers bloom along the walkway, enhancing the overall appeal. The atmosphere exuded a sense of comfort and familiarity. The kitchen featured cream-colored cabinets and an antique farmhouse sink, likely a fixture since the house's construction. Family photographs adorned every corner. Graduations, infant photographs, and those endearingly awkward school portraits. An unmistakable aura of love and familial heritage permeated the atmosphere. While I knelt by the sink, meticulously positioning the wrench on the obstinate pipe, she reclined against the kitchen counter, arms crossed, observing me with a sense of quiet intrigue. After a thoughtful pause, she remarked, "I truly admire your strong work ethic. Many young men in your age group may not even be familiar with the proper way to handle a wrench." I adjusted the valve slightly further and let out a soft chuckle. "It seems that necessity accelerates your learning when financial constraints arise, and your possessions continually fail you." Her laughter resonated, a warm and gentle melody that enveloped the kitchen. "Nonetheless, you stand out." I stood and dried my hands on an aged towel she offered me. "Everything is complete. It should be satisfactory now." She checked the faucet, a smile spreading across her face as the dripping ceased, and then turned to me. In that moment, she found herself just a fraction nearer than she had been moments earlier. Though not within reach, the delicate aroma of vanilla mingled with a hint of floral notes caught my attention. A moment passed, a silence that lingered pleasantly between us. "You didn't have to do that," she said softly. "Thank you very much." "No problem at all." After a moment of hesitation, She gently placed her hand on my forearm for just a brief second. A mere hint. It was almost imperceptible, yet it coursed a jolt of electricity through my arm. I owe you, she said, retracting her hand. I would like to treat you to dinner. I blinked. That is truly unnecessary. She inclined her head once more, her lips forming a gentle smile. It's merely dinner, Liam. I found myself nodding instinctively, even before I had the chance to process it. Understood. Absolutely. On that Friday evening, I encountered her at a quaint Italian restaurant located just a few minutes away from the neighborhood. The ambiance was inviting, featuring soft lighting and charming red and white checkered tablecloths that added to the warmth of the space. The walls featured an array of vintage black and white photographs capturing the essence of Italy. The dialogue unfolded as if we had been acquainted for ages. Our conversation covered a range of topics, including home repairs, amusing accidents, our favorite films, the ideal pizza toppings, and unfortunate DIY mishaps. The conversation gradually evolved into a more profound exchange. She shared her experiences of motherhood, discussing her journey of raising her children solo, the nights filled with tears, and the mornings when she summoned the strength to rise and persevere. There's a certain feeling that lingers in an empty house once the kids have gone, she remarked gently, swirling her wine. It seems as though you have been anticipating a moment for what feels like an eternity. One that you never desired. I listened intently, taken aback by her openness with me. I shared with her my challenges during college, detailing how I juggled 2 jobs to gather enough funds for necessary repairs, and expressed my uncertainty regarding my future plans. You've achieved quite a lot, she remarked softly. Take pride in your accomplishments. We lingered at the restaurant for hours, eventually stepping outside to bask in the gentle illumination of the street lamps. The night air carried a refreshing coolness, yet it was far from cold. She strolled closely alongside me as we gradually made our way back to our homes. She paused at the corner, where her house peeked through the trees. Thank you, Liam, she whispered softly. I thoroughly enjoyed my time. I responded with sincerity, echoing the sentiment. She extended her hand and gently glided her fingers along my arm once more. Good night, she whispered softly. I offered a nervous smile. Wishing you a restful night, Liz. As she vanished from sight, I remained still for a moment on the sidewalk. The street lay in complete silence. The sole sound that permeated the air was the soft, distant hum of crickets. I remained in that moment, my heart pounding, uncertain of the reasons, yet acutely aware that a change had occurred between us. As I strolled home beneath the glow of the streetlights, my thoughts surged with a whirlwind of possibilities and emotions that eluded precise definition. The following morning had a distinct quality to it. I awoke, gazing at the ceiling fan as it turned languidly above my bed, lost in thoughts of her. Sophie, Liz. The events of last night continued to replay in my thoughts. The manner in which she smiled, the gentle touch of her hand on my arm, and the warmth in her voice as she bid me good night were all unforgettable moments. I reluctantly shook my head and pulled myself out of bed. I may not have been a child, yet I had never experienced anything quite like this before. I was aware of the considerable age gap, yet it didn't concern me. I had a genuine fondness for her, straightforward and clear. Throughout the upcoming week, I encountered Liz with increasing frequency. Initially, it was the little details. She gestured from the opposite side of the street as she meticulously trimmed her hedges. As I was transporting groceries from my car, she approached me and kindly offered her assistance. She surprised me with freshly baked muffins for no particular reason. One afternoon, she rapped on my door, her expression playful and full of intrigue. Opening a jar of pasta sauce seems to be an insurmountable challenge for me. Could you assist me, please? Absolutely, I agreed without hesitation. I approached her house and effortlessly lifted the lid open. We shared a laugh together. I lingered a bit more than required, and she appeared unhurried in her desire for my departure. As days transitioned into nights, the bond between us grew stronger. I would seek out any opportunity to stroll by her residence. She would seize every opportunity to invite me in. We began dedicating entire evenings to one another. We prepared dinner at her home, dined on the back porch beneath twinkling string lights, and engaged in conversation for hours about a myriad of topics, both significant and trivial. At times, she would softly place her hand on my knee while sharing a laugh. At times, I would gently tuck a stray strand of her hair behind her ear while she gazed at me with her soft, understanding eyes. One night stands out in my memory. I extended an invitation for her to come over to my residence. I prepared spaghetti, my signature dish to impress at mealtime. We dined at my quaint patio table beneath the glow of a full moon. The dialogue gradually diminished as the evening progressed. The atmosphere became tranquil. She gazed at me and softly said, "You make me feel alive again, Liam." I'm unsure how to articulate it. I took a deep breath. I shared the same sentiment. I had previously dated girls my own age, but this experience was entirely unique. The depth was palpable, tenderness was present, a genuine comprehension existed. As she leaned in and kissed me for the first time, the moment was neither hurried nor chaotic, nor did it carry any sense of awkwardness. It was gentle, intentional, and brimming with emotion. Her lips pressed softly against mine, radiating warmth. Her hands gently settled on the contours of my face. We halted, exchanging glances. We were both fully aware of our actions. We were aware of the risks, the unspoken rules, and the judgment that would arise from others if they were to find out. However, in that moment, none of it held significance. From that point forward, our evenings together transformed. After sunset, I would ride my bike to her house. She would keep the porch light illuminated. At times, we would find ourselves on the couch, immersed in classic films, her head gently resting on my shoulder while my arm encircled her waist. At times, we would sway gently in her living room, our bare feet gliding across the floor to the soothing melodies that filled the air. On certain evenings, we allow the passion to dominate our experience. I will refrain from providing specific details. What I can share is that the experience was characterized by a natural connection, mutual understanding, and profound respect. It always felt right. The experience resembled two individuals, each having endured solitude for an extended period, ultimately discovering solace in one another. Late one night, Liz shared her thoughts with me, her head gently resting on my chest. In my youth, I believed I had everything understood: marriage, children, the ideal home. However, life had different intentions. My husband departed before I had the chance to truly experience the essence of real love. For 2 decades, I dedicated myself to raising my sons, juggling 2 jobs, consistently making sacrifices, and often overlooking the fact that I am more than just a mother. I never truly experienced life. I never experienced my youth. I embraced her closely and murmured, "Then allow me to offer you that, even if only for a brief moment." I truly meant it. We began our journey together. Initially, we steered clear of being observed in proximity to our residence. I brought her to the city for late-night dinners, intimate concerts, open mic poetry events, and vibrant nightclubs. I welcomed her into the realm I was familiar with. My companions, my locations, my rhythm. Initially, she exhibited some reluctance. The music resonated with intensity, the crowd brimming with youth, and the atmosphere charged with vibrant energy. However, I observed her gradually relax, laugh, and even dance as if no one were watching. She twirled beneath the vibrant neon lights, took my hand, and led me onward. She had never appeared so liberated before. "Liam, this is absolutely unbelievable," she shouted above the music one night, panting from the exhilaration of dancing. "It has been 2 decades since I last engaged in this activity." I smiled and drew her nearer. "This evening is dedicated to you." We wandered through the deserted streets until dawn, hand in hand, engaging in deep conversation about all that mattered: visions, remorse, aspirations, anxieties. Upon arriving at my bike parked by the curb, she embraced me, resting her head gently against my chest. "I feel alive again," she whispered. I experienced the same sentiment. As I pedaled home alone that night, a profound awareness settled within me. I was experiencing something truly exceptional. An unforeseen occurrence. An experience I will always remember. I was taken by surprise by this unexpected turn of events. This is not the right place. Not with her. And certainly not in this manner. Every time I approached her house along the sidewalk and caught sight of her waiting on the porch with that gentle smile, I felt an undeniable sense of belonging, knowing I wanted to be nowhere else. Weeks evolved into months. Our secret transformed into our source of comfort. An implicit understanding existed between us. It was left unlabeled. It remains undefined. They were not in a boyfriend-girlfriend relationship. This was not a casual encounter. It transcended mere friendship. It belonged to us. A world was crafted that only the two of us could truly comprehend. After work, I would often find myself spending my evenings at her place. At times, we would prepare meals side by side, engaging in light-hearted debates about the ideal texture of garlic bread. Should it be soft or crispy? At other moments, we would relax on the porch swing, glasses of wine in hand, as we observed the sky transition into night. The silence was always comfortable. Being in her presence brought a profound sense of tranquility. From time to time, Liz would cast a nervous glance out at the street whenever a neighbor passed by. Do you believe anyone has their suspicions? One night, she posed a question to me. Perhaps. I provided a truthful response. However, is it significant? She shook her head gently and leaned against me. Negative. I ceased to be concerned with others' opinions quite some time ago. We maintained a respectful distance in public settings. Our interactions in public were minimal. Yet, in the privacy of our own space, we revealed our true selves. Unrefined, transparent. We were both aware that it wouldn't last indefinitely. Our conversations never ventured into the realm of the future. Perhaps that is what contributed to its perfection. One evening, as we reclined beneath a blanket on our couch, the gentle glow of candlelight illuminating the space, Liz uttered words that will forever remain etched in my memory. I want to express that this has been the most joyful period I've experienced in years. I gently squeezed her hand. Same here. I sensed her gaze upon me. Even amidst the shadows, I understand this won't endure. Liam, she murmured, you will have the opportunity to meet someone who is of a similar age to you. A family will be yours. A typical existence. I remained quiet, the impact of the words striking me more profoundly than I had anticipated. Promise me something, she continued in a gentle tone. Promise that you will keep me in your thoughts. Not in the same way as the older woman down the street, but rather as the individual who brought a smile to your face during your moments of uncertainty. I turned to her and gently traced my fingers along her cheek. I assure you, that night, no further words were exchanged. We embraced, fully aware that the chapter we had crafted together was gradually reaching its conclusion. With the arrival of fall, the frequency of our meetings diminished. Liz found herself increasingly occupied with volunteer work and making occasional trips to visit her sons. I received a full-time job offer from a local construction company and began spending my days on job sites, leaving me too fatigued in the evenings to engage in anything other than sleep. We both sensed the growing distance, yet neither of us made an effort to resist it. The essence of what we shared was truly remarkable. It was never about grasping too firmly. It was all about embracing the present to its fullest. The last occasion I beheld her as anything beyond a neighbor was both uncomplicated and flawless. I visited to return a book that she had graciously lent to me. She extended an invitation for me to enter. We shared a final moment on the porch swing. There was a complete absence of drama. There were no tears, simply filled with gratitude. You've returned to me something I believed I had lost for all time, she said softly. You have restored my youth. I offered a smile. You also provided me with something. Liz, your support has demonstrated the true essence of being present for another person. We embraced for an extended moment. As we separated, she gently pressed her lips to my cheek. Farewell, Liam. Farewell, Liz. As I strolled back to my residence beneath the crisp autumn sky, a sense of tranquility enveloped me. The sound of leaves crunching beneath my boots. The air is invigorating, filled with the anticipation of transformation. I found myself on my porch, gazing down the street towards her house. The porch light remained illuminated, as it always did. I offered a smile. That chapter of my life had come to a close. and I found peace with it. We remained neighbors, welcoming, waving from time to time, engaging in brief conversations and exchanges. We both progressed with our lives. Yet that hidden realm, that untamed, exquisite, and unattainable love story was filled with countless hours of solitude. I kept it to myself. I have never found it necessary to do so. Even after all these years, each time I cycle past that house, a smile crosses my face. I recall, I fulfilled my commitment.